Oh, good lord. Yeah? Yes? Okay, I think we're good to go. Hello! Welcome in, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. There's a bit of technical difficulties before I actually got going, but hello. Welcome in, everyone. I'm in the right stream, right? Yes? Yes. Okay, excellent. Wondering why I asked that, because it's not the first time that that's happened. Oh boy. Yes, yes. Hello, Drew. Hello, Oz, and hello, Lisa. Welcome in, y'all. Okay. So, like what it says on the screen right now, today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about rhythm and repetition. Hello, Chipster. We're going to be talking about rhythm and repetition. This is actually going to be our last, like our very last principles of design stream. This is the last one that we have to go over. So before this one, we've gone over every single other one, including all of the elements of art as well. So this is our last principles of design video. So I'm excited to go through it, which also means it's the last time that I had to go through researching a bunch of different art pieces and whatnot. But yeah, so today we're going to be going over rhythm and repetition. But before we do that, you know what time it is. This is what we do every week. So if you did not know, our growing community is filled with tons of art nerds, and we art nerds have to stick together. So if you're an art nerd too, be sure to check out the links to our social media in the description below, and check out our website for our class offerings, where you can get critique, guidance, and encouragement from our instructors, because we're not just a YouTube channel, we are an art school too. So if you'd like to support us so we can keep making free content, consider supporting us on Patreon for as little as $2 per month, where you can get access to tons of perks like my working files, critique sessions, and a huge discount on our classes that have a limited amount of spots. So be sure to check those out before they are gone. All right. Hello, Pastel Human. Welcome in. Okay. Cool. I feel like I say this every week. I'm sorry if I sound tired. These past few weeks have been kind of insane. I'm not gonna lie. Oh yes, and we are back in Medibang once again. So if you didn't know too much, we are doing just like, what's it called? We're switching between different programs for each week. So we're back on Medibang for today. Oh, let me go to my notes, because I do these with notes, because I can't do them off the top of my head. Praying for Nightbot, sincerely, same. Okay. So rhythm and repetition, what exactly are they? We're gonna do them separately. So what is repetition? I have to write slowly in Medibang. I'm right on time. Finally, you're all good. Yes, welcome in, Marlene. Welcome in. We've just begun. Hello, Lewis. Welcome in. Glad you can make it. Okay. Oh, I spelled repetition wrong on my notes. That's jokes. Okay. Repetition. Repetition works with pattern. Works with patterns to make Hello, Ember. I'm all good. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Works with patterns to make the work of art seem active. Creates unity in the art. So, repetition works with patterns to make the work of art seem active, right? It creates unity within the art. So when you have repetition, a lot of the times, when you are repeating elements, it creates unity, right? Because what that does is it creates this pattern that your eyes can follow. So when you repeat elements over and over, it creates unity because you have those parts of the artwork that sort of match with one another. I'll be bringing up a checkerboard a lot, but if you think about checkerboards, oh, I'm wearing a checkerboard pattern cardigan. You can't see it, but I am. Just trust me on that one. But I'm going to be bringing up a checkerboard a lot. But you can think of it like a checkerboard, right? You have those squares that repeat over and over, so then it creates that sense of unity because you have those repeating elements that relate to one another. So that's repetition, right? Rhythm. Whoops, rhythm Rhythm is created. I'm going to actually turn up my smoothing to 10 because Medibang is kind of sensitive. Actually, let's do 5. Created. That's better. 1. Elements. Saying I used to create organized movement. Creates a mood. Like music. Been having been having a bad few days, can't seem to draw anything, even basic facial proportions, hoping this inspires me. Yeah, it happens, especially when you are an artist. You have your good art days, you have your bad art days. Sometimes your bad art days, quote unquote, can last for a very long time. It gets really annoying. What that usually is that you're going through your work plateau. And what that is that a lot of people, when they kind of look at art, they think of art as a steadily going uphill battle. That's not the case. So a lot of the times it's more like a hill. Well, not really a hill. It's more like stairs. That's a better way to think of it, right? Is that you'll have the slope stairs. So you'll think of it. So some days you'll have those really intense bouts of like constant inspiration, constant improvement, right? And you're kind of constantly going uphill, and then you reach a plateau but you kind of flat out, doesn't feel like you're getting better, feels like everything's getting worse, right? And you're like, what's happening? Why am I like this? And then you reach that point again. And you're like, oh, actually, the inspiration's happening. It's great. It's going well, right? It's a battle like that. It's very much like a staircase. It's a very irregular staircase. And it gets really annoying, but that's basically what it is. Right? And it happens a lot. But yeah, so hopefully that helps. Hopefully I help. Hopefully this kind of helps inspire you a bit. Because rhythm and repetition is kind of weird, but I'm a big fan of it. All right. So rhythm is created when one or more elements of design are used to create organized movement. So it creates a mood like music. I've realized that bad art days is sometimes just time locked, so I just doodle and wait it out. Yep. Basically. Yeah, so rhythm, it kind of adds that extra little oomph that repetition needs, right? Repetition on its own is very, very boring. If you just repeat elements over and over and over, it can get very, very boring, right? So you need that rhythm there in order to make it flow and in order for it to work, right? Again, if I kind of bring up a checkerboard has a bit of rhythm in there. We'll be talking about it. It's alternating rhythm, but we'll be talking about what that is soon. So you're going to need to you need to add your rhythm on top of your repetition, right? So repetition creates unity, but too much repetition can make it feel incredibly boring. So rhythm adds that interest. Think of it as like the beat of I explained this to a student recently. Think of it as like the beat of a song or repeated chords, right? If you think of a song, right, there are elements that repeat, there are elements that happen over and over and over, but that makes it catchy because of those different elements working in tandem, right? You have like if you've ever heard those videos online, like if you've ever seen the one of the popular ones is like Feel Good Inc. without the bass. It's very, very weird, right? And because all of those elements work together to create a stable rhythm and a stable pattern that make the song very, very interesting. So you need all those extra bits in there, and the rhythm is what adds your interest, right? But yeah, so our examples for today and our little things that we're going to go over for today, there actually isn't a lot to say about repetition. What is there is there. That's basically all that repetition is. It works with patterns to make the work of art seem active, right? That's all that repetition is. However, there are different types of rhythm. Rhythm and repetition have to work together, but rhythm is the one that has its specific points. So we're going to be talking a lot about rhythm today, even though they work in tandem. Hello, Skylar. Welcome in. Okay, so yes. So the first type of rhythm we're going to be talking about is random rhythm. I'm going to try to zoom through these. Random rhythm. Yo, is this dance class? Almost. Dance class for visual artists, Ian. Welcome in. So random rhythm. Random rhythm appears to have... You missed the segment where I talked about it like music. So random rhythm appears to have no discernible or calculated pattern. So it's like falling snow. Crowds of people. Whoa, that's okay. Let's, yeah. Beach rocks. Nope. Etc. And either no discernible or exact pattern, or it's very large and complex. Did you bring your ballet shoes? I'm a tab guy. Let's go. Can rhythm be achieved through colors? Absolutely. Rhythm is just achieved through the elements of art. So any element of art that you think, right? All of our nouns that come with art. Again, I explained it this way to my students, right? In our elements and principles and Gestalt theory, which we're not going to cover, but our elements of art, right? Color, shape, form, those are our nouns. Our principles are our adjectives and verbs, right? So it's the stuff that we add on to our nouns to make them interesting and make them work. And then Gestalt theory is our context, and it's how it makes our art work, right? It's how we make it understandable, right? So rhythm and repetition, all principles of design can be applied to every single element of art. They all have to work in tandem in order for our art to work, basically. So random rhythm appears to have no discernible or calculated pattern, right? So if you think about falling snow, crowds of people, beach rocks, etc., those have like no real discernible pattern. Like if you've ever seen like an aerial view of like giant crowds of people in cities, like if you think of like the street view of like New York or Toronto or something like that, you look down, you see just like crowds of people, that's random rhythm, right? Because there's no real pattern of those people. You just see people walking everywhere. It's the same thing with falling snow. Snow has no pattern when it falls. It just falls and it does. No two snowflakes look exactly the same either. We all know that it's snow, and it is a rhythm because they do fall at a similar pace to one another, but it's never an exact pattern. It's not an exact science. It's if we think in the video game terms, it's RNG based, right? All those joys. One sentence, you already made my head spin. Yes, welcome to the elements of principles. This is the stuff that professionals have to memorize, unfortunately. Um, when you're going into industry arts, this is the stuff that you usually memorize. But yeah, so it appears to have no discernible or calculated patterns. So it either has no discernible or exact pattern, or it's very, very large and complex. Right? So if it either has like a pattern that you can't figure out at all, or it's so complex that you just might as well not bother, those two tend to be random rhythm. Because, they're a bit more natural looking, they're a little bit less calculated, so on and so forth. So each of these little rhythm sections, they're actually not very long. Like, that's about as much as I'm going to write in there. And the piece that we're going to be talking about is Golconda by Rene Magritte. Yes. This one was painted in 1953. So this piece, I love Rene Magritte. I love the Surrealist movement. This is like one of my favorite movements ever, just because it hurts my brain. I love it. So this piece is funky, because they're really, if you look at the people that he's actually painted, their positioning has no real pattern. They all look exactly the same, right? That's the joke. The Son of Man character, it always looks exactly the same whenever he painted it. They're all pointing in different directions. It really is like Raining Men, right? That's really what we're looking at. If you kind of take a step back, look at it, you can actually see a pattern. If we really zoom out that far, it really does. It looks almost hexagonal, right? It's like you have little triangles layered on top of each other, right? But because if you look closer, right, it's layers upon layers of these men going farther and farther into the background. And these layers create that sense of randomness. But it's calculated, but in a much more complex way, if that makes sense. It's raining men. Yep, there it is. The painting rules. Surrealism does rule. Everything in surrealism does rule. What's even more fascinating is if you look at the windows in the back, they also have a bit of that rhythm. They have that rhythm, that repetition that kind of continues as the windows sort of follow an arc. These ones get cut off on the top. It was like he was really down to create this pattern. Regardless, though, yeah. So that's my example of our random rhythm. We've got others to keep going through. Random rhythm, I think, is the easiest one to do. Oh, no, that's not true. Regular rhythm and alternating are the easiest ones, but we'll go over those. Random rhythm's the most fun one. So regular rhythm. Regular rhythm. Regular rhythm is rhythm that holds a perfect pattern. All right, so it follows the same intervals over and over. And the pattern is easy to spot. Would you consider The Starry Night by Van Gogh as random rhythm? No, that is flowing rhythm, but I will talk about what flowing rhythm is in a bit. Like a honeycomb. Yes, honeycomb is regular rhythm. Fantastic. Yeah, Starry Night is flowing rhythm. We're going to go over that soon. Easy to spot and create is also to make. Oops. Okay, is also. Oh my god. Easy to spot and create, but it's also. Okay, I'm just trying to think of how to word it the most. Boring. All right. Hi, hello, Kenny. Welcome in. So regular rhythm is rhythm that holds a perfect pattern. It follows the same intervals over and over, and the pattern is easy to spot, right? So regular rhythm, like Skylar mentioned, is, like honeycombs. Honeycombs, checkerboards. Well, not checkerboards. Grids. Think of a grid, just a grid, right? There isn't any alternating colors or anything, just a grid, right? We have, or like a picket fence, a white picket fence, you have the same bars that, or not bars, but wooden planks that kind of repeat over and over. That's a regular rhythm, something that follows an exact pattern. It's the same thing, just over and over and over. Right? It's easy to spot, it's easy to create, but it is also the most boring. Using regular rhythm can get very, very monotonous. It's a lot of minimalist artists love their regular rhythm, love their alternating rhythms. They can get very, very boring just because of it's the same thing over and over. Things get boring when it's the same thing over and over. An example I saw was like the dripping of a tap. If you kind of leave a tap slightly on and it drips the water just very, very slowly, you're like, man, that gets real annoying real quick, right? So that one gets kind of boring and kind of annoying, but it is something that is used. So the piece that we're going to be using for this one, it is actually called Untitled. It is, oh boy, this one, Untitled by Donald Judd, done in 1967. I had to actually research a lot for regular rhythm because it's really something that is not used very often within art. So this is the version from 1967 specifically. He's done a lot of different pieces like this one. This piece, it's one of those pieces that I have to explain because it is a bit of a weird one. This piece is meant to be mechanical. How it's displayed changes based on the height of the building it resides in, right? So depending on where it's being displayed, I believe this photo's in the MoMA. But if you have, depending on where this piece is displayed, you need to recalculate how all of these squares are going to be separated from one another. They're all made of metal. So it creates this perfect regular rhythm. Each box is spaced perfectly evenly. And that's basically how it's meant to be. He wanted to create an art piece that was like as non-organic as possible. So he used like no organic materials. He made sure that nothing was done organically. It's all very mathematical. Which is really like, to me, I'm like, I don't, yeah. You know, so it creates perfect regular rhythm. Though one could argue that this piece is also incredibly boring, right? You could argue that this is like really boring and it's not cool to look at and whatever, right? But it is regular rhythm and it's what I'm using for the example. Do I like this piece? It fascinates me, but I wouldn't say it's something that I'd have. Regardless, let's keep moving. So that's regular rhythm for you. Next one up is alternating rhythm. This is some terrible shelving. I was thinking that they look kind of like shelves too, huh? I think it'd be kind of cool as shelves. Depending on the house you have, I guess. Next one, alternating rhythm. Alternating rhythm. When you if anything, I'm like, why are they, or are they in different values of the same color? They are. That's a monochromatic scheme. But again, like he did it just like I'm pretty sure he did it to be like the most. Like, if I remember correctly, I read his artist statement, and it was like he wanted to create a meaningless piece of art. He wanted it to be completely inorganic and completely free of like emotion or something, if I remember correctly. I read it a bit ago, so it's been a while, but yeah. So alternating rhythm is when you repeat more than one element. I got a new candle. It smells so nice in my room right now. Cinnamon spiced vanilla. So good. Sorry. It makes me sleepy, but like I'm also like it's such a nice smell. Such a nice smell. More than one element in a pattern. So checkerboard. One, two. Meaninglessly says, yet people ate it up. Oh yeah. The salon is a yeah. Gallery artists, they love their yeah. There's one gallery that paid like who knows how much for like art pieces, and the artist submitted like 3 blank canvases and he titled them "Took the money and run." I whoever he is, love him. It's such a Banksy thing to do. It's so funny. At first glimpse, I thought it was a model of a building. I was considering getting a building for regular rhythm, but I ended up not doing that. Just regular rhythm with more complexity. Accept monotony. still has the possibility of being boring. So bold, cannot relate. Not even a banana taped to a wall is a piece of empty emotion, so cool. Yeah. Art's weird. That's the best explanation I can give to a lot of like even to artists, but to non-artists, like sometimes people are like, well, why'd they do this? And I'm like, my friend, I can't answer that for you. I'm not the artist. I don't know the artist statement. But art's weird. It's a form of self-expression, and self-expression is incredibly confusing. So the way that they express it is also incredibly confusing. Okay. So alternating rhythm is when you repeat more than one element in a pattern, right? So again, if we go back to a checkerboard, it has a 1-2-1-2 pattern. You go white split, white square, black square, white square, black square. Why is that so hard to say? Right? So you go white square, black square, white square, black square, right? And that's a 1-2-1-2 type pattern, right? So it goes element 1, element 2, element 1, element 2. All right, so it's basically a regular rhythm with more complexity. You added on a bit of an extra layer of complexity onto your regular rhythm. So it helps break up the monotony of what regular rhythm is, but it still has the possibility of being boring. If you do it just a bit too often, it can still be it's satisfying. I think that's like you see a lot of alternating rhythm in like satisfying compilations and whatever, satisfying imagery. So it breaks up the monotony, but it still has the possibility of being boring, right? It still has that. It's still just the same things over and over and over, right? So you gotta add some extra stuff on top of it to make it not as boring. So the piece that we have for this one is Lizards by MC Escher. Oopsie doopsie. We've talked about MC Escher a few times. I could have gone for almost any of his pieces. I didn't want to do another Metamorphosis piece because we've already done those so many times. But this is Lizards by MC Escher, done in 1942. So this one follows a 1-2-3-2-1 type pattern, right? So if we start from the white lizard, it goes white, brown, black. Oh, wait, sorry, no. If we kind of start from here, it goes white, brown, black, brown, white, right? In that kind of pattern. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, right? So it kind of goes back and forth between them depending on how you look at it. Right? Yeah. Yeah, because they kind of interlock in that weird way. But yeah, they still follow a very, very alternating pattern. You can immediately tell from just looking at it that there is a pattern here, right? And that's basically like what both alternating and regular rhythm are. You gotta be able to look at it and go, oh yeah, there's a pattern. I can see it right there. Right? And this piece, it's still very mechanical. MC Escher was an artist who loved to mix his math with his art. MC Escher's works, I love a lot of his works. I don't like math that much, like at all. When I say I don't like math that much, I mean I don't like it at all. But it's, MC Escher is like the king of mixing his math with his art, and like I love his like perspective pieces. They're like they're done to such an exact science to the point where I'm like, wow, I wish. Um, Regardless, yeah, that's what his work is. So it's very mechanical, but by comparison to alternating to like regular rhythm, it's still a lot more interesting. He added in those bits of detail. There's more to look at. It's kind of confusing. It's kind of hard to look at, as most of his artwork is. But yeah, yes, lizards. Like the self-satisfying videos of slimes and sand, kind of. But I'm talking more about the ones that are animated. Like the sort of like undulating pattern ones. That's kind of more what I'm thinking. Baby basilisks, there they are. It's a whole nest of them. Escher's art is just cool to look at. It is. It's really, really cool. It looks like the puzzle my aunt had. All his pieces were shaped as a running guy. Oh, valid. Yeah. It does look like a puzzle. It does feel like you can just kind of whoop, take one of them out, put them back in. It looks like puzzle pieces. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Okay. Yep, I'm gonna remove it so I can just keep writing. But yeah, that's our alternating rhythm. Next one, this is the second to last one. This is flowing rhythm that I mentioned earlier because Marlene brought it up. So this is flowing rhythm. So flowing rhythm is rhythm. Puzzles are alternate rhythm, right? Yes. Yes. Not the actual image that would be on the puzzle, but the puzzle pieces themselves, yes. It would be like almost like alternating rhythm. It'd be alternating and or no, that's right. Yeah, it would be alternating rhythm. Like just puzzle pieces themselves. If you had the entire puzzle was like colored white, or if it had like a pattern of color, that would be alternating for sure. Through form. Yeah. Flowing rhythm is rhythm caused by following bends and curves. So like waves. Sand dunes. Yeah, waves, sand dunes. Those are the two best ones. Usually. Found in nature. They emerge for natural. And coming. Flow. The Great Wave of Kanagawa is my guess for this one. That is a good one. I was debating on using that one, but I was like, that's too basic. I'll go with something else. But it is an example of it, yes. So, flowing rhythm is rhythm caused by following bends and curves, right? So that's in nature, that's waves, that's sand dunes, right? If you look at like sand dunes, even if they're below the water, if they're above the water, sand is a good example of flowing rhythm. You see all those like rolling hills and the dunes that kind of move, right? Waves, they follow like a nice curvy pattern over and over. Hills, you got rolling hills that kind of go around, right? That's rhythm caused by following bends and curves and stuff. Sand gardens with the rocks, yes. Or like falling water, yes. Falling water for sure. If you kind of have like that waterfall or like a flowing river for sure. Yeah, definitely like the Zen gardens and like rock gardens, right? With the sand that you use a rake with, right? For sure. So that's what we think when we think of flowing rhythm. It's usually found in nature, and oftentimes within graphic design, it's mimicked for a natural and calming flow or a natural and calming energy. You'll do that a lot within art as well. The natural flowing bends feels very calming, very relaxing. Microsoft XP default background, so true. Snakes, you could use snakes depending on how you work with them. Um, Snakes themselves have a type of flowing rhythm. I wouldn't necessarily say that they are by default flowing rhythm. But yes, you can absolutely use it for that for sure. But yeah, so flowing rhythm is rhythm caused by following bends and curves. So like what I believe Marlene mentioned earlier. Um, so Starry Night by Van Gogh. That's definitely technically. If, I don't want to say the Dutch pronunciation because I'll always butcher it, and then my older teacher is like wagging a finger at me when I say it wrong. I'm sorry, miss. But in her legacy, I write his name the way that you normally would. Ouroboros, infinite rhythm, so true. Flowing rhythm like sand dunes also have the possibility of being boring or nauseating. I think the thing with flowing rhythm is that a lot of the times it's broken up just by its natural progressiveness because they're never exactly the same over and over. If you look at like nauseating for sure, if you're on like the water and you have the natural movement of the waves kind of crashing against you, yeah, that can be kind of nauseating. But I think that the monotony is broken up just by natural progression because no two things within flowing rhythm are exactly the same. The thing with flowing rhythm is that you have to keep it moving, so it cannot be exactly the same pattern, regardless of what you're doing. Um, right? So like waves, they will just infinitely. They might get bigger, they might get smaller. They won't exactly go in the exact same space twice over and over, right? They'll crash up differently, they'll move a bit differently, right? And it creates almost that calming sort of like monotony. It's a different kind of monotony, if that makes sense. Herman Melville's famous tale of Moby Dick has to be flowing rhythm. I've actually never read Moby Dick, so I wouldn't know. But okay, flowing rhythm. All right, let's see if I can pronounce this name. Oh my god. Let's see if I can pronounce the name of this piece. Um, this is Helixicos number 3 by Hans Hawkinson, done in 1969. Call me Israel. So this is Helixicos number 3 by Hans Hawkinson, 1969 is when it was created. I decided to put in a couple sculptures in this one because we've been doing a lot of paintings and ancient work recently. So these ones are all in the 1900s and there's some sculptures down in here. That's all I need to know. Understandable. So ironic that we brought up snakes because this one does have a very serpent-like flow to it, right? It does kind of feel like a snake moving or like streamers blowing in the wind or whatever, right? And this one you can really feel your eyes moving along or following the movement of the sculpture. It also helps that it has like these ridges in it, so it feels almost like a staircase. Your eyes are kind of following it, almost like ram's horns, right? And your brain automatically follows whatever curves they're moving in, right? And this creates that flowing rhythm. It creates that rhythm. So the saying that like it can be like the possibility of being boring or nauseating, yes, but no, because you just have to keep on constantly moving with flowing rhythm. So it creates, for me, flowing rhythm has the highest amount of movement out of all of them. Oh no, that's not true. I'd say it has the second most amount of flowing movement. Flowing movement has the second most amount of movement in it. Flowing rhythm has the second most amount of movement. I'd say progressive has the most amount of movement. But flowing rhythm for sure. Right. You gotta go with the flow. That's my best way of going with it. Metallic orange peel or pencil shavings. It does kind of look like pencil shavings. Okay. So we got one more. This next one's one more. We're zooming with these. Nice. The example for progressive rhythm might take a bit though. Poached ram's horns is the name of this piece, I believe. I would love to own a pair of ram's horns. Maybe one day. Okay. So progressive rhythm. You barbarian. Listen, all of the skulls and bones that I have are ethically found, are ethically taken. Their meat was either meant to be donated to local zoos or they were already, found unalive. Okay. So progressive rhythm is repeating a pattern. All the what? All my skulls. I have 3. I have 3 real skulls and 3 fake skulls. I have, for my real ones, I've shown them on screen before. If you were here for the mammal stream, I showed all of my my skulls that I have. Skulls. My skulls. I have a. What do I have? I have a suckling pig. I have a stoat, and I have a muskrat. Those are the 3 that I have. The animals you got the skulls from are still alive and healthy. Ethically pillaged. Ethically pillaged. They were. Listen. They were actually like. Okay. We'll talk about this later. Progressive rhythm. Paintings with flowing brush strokes can be categorized as flowing rhythm, right? Yes. So progressive rhythm is repeating a pattern. But changing. An element progressively. Changing an element. Bit by bit. pattern continues. It's this one. Oops. Oops. Okay. Bit of it as the pattern continues. So i.e. this one can get larger. Show perspective. Movement. For some things grow. Lighter. To show. Would Monet be considered flowing rhythm? Depends. It depends on the piece. What's one that I can think of that has flowing rhythm? I think lily pads would have a flowing rhythm if we follow the river that he created. Maybe even I think the piece is called Lady with an Umbrella. Hang on. Woman with a Parasol. My bad. Yeah, he did lilies. There you go. Yeah. I'd say that Woman with a Parasol is probably a better example, just because of like the clouds in the background, the movement of her skirt that kind of flows and curves and follows the shape of the wind. It follows the flow of the wind. I know stuff. Yeah, you do. Um, Tree rings, what rhythm would they fall under? Progressive. They'd fall under progressive. So let's talk about progressive. So progressive rhythm is repeating a pattern but changing an element bit by bit as the pattern continues. Right? So it's if you're continuing a pattern, it could be a regular rhythm. But let's say if we took tree rings, for example, say if we start from the center of the tree. So we start with a very, very small ring, and as they grow outwards, the ring starts to get slowly bigger and bigger and bigger. That's progressively growing the pattern that's present. Those in math, you can call them like it's intervals. Is it intervals? I don't know. Regardless. It's one of those patterns that just continually get bigger, bigger or smaller, or anything in that form. Right? It doesn't necessarily need to get bigger or smaller. Right? You could do color. Right? What if you killed a tree? What would be then? There would be no rhythm because there's no rhythm if they can't. They're not unalive anyway. It's no longer growing. um, so yeah, if we think about like shape or form, we can get larger to show perspective or movement. Or if we think of like color or value, some things can grow lighter to show that they're closer to a light source, or that they're coming closer to the main subject or getting farther away from the main subject, right? Depending on where the light source comes from. Right. So when you have progressive rhythm, it's just something that is slowly changing. It could be a slow change, it could be a fast-paced change, right? It's a change that happens that shows a pattern of some kind, right? Maybe it's a shift in mood, maybe it's a shift in area, maybe it's just to show um a growing like emotion, maybe it's to show, so on and so forth. Maybe it's to progress something. Like in a very literal sense, maybe it is literally just to progress someone further into the piece. You can use progressive rhythm as a form of leading lines, right? If you have like I'm trying to think. If you think of a sidewalk, if you drew a sidewalk, right, those like little sections of concrete that get smaller as they go farther into the distance, right? That's progressive rhythm because they get smaller as you go further into perspective. but it's also leading your eyes to progress throughout the piece to go to a single point, right? It helps emphasize your main focal point, right? Goes to find Michael Jackson's Thriller video to prove me wrong. I have watched that Thriller video. That thing was my favorite when I was a kid. My dad like loved to show me the Thriller video. It was the Thriller video, and then there was a Lego parody that he would always show me. Those were the two that I always watched on like our old big HP computer with a monitor that was like nice and thick, you know. Regardless, tree haunting you. So true. Ghost tree. Okay. On a live rhythm exists. Oh, true. Sorry, I didn't pick up on that. Anyway, painting with the melting clocks. Is that progressive? Oh, that is a Dali piece. That is. Oh no, the name escapes me. The Persistence of Memory. The Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali. Is that progressive? In terms of its perspective, yes. In terms of its objects, I would say that that's random rhythm. But in terms of like the scene that it is in, yes, I would say that that's perspective because it does. You do have areas where your eyes kind of go and lead farther into the distance. You have multiple rhythms in a piece, right? It won't mess it up. No, never. The thing with we're gonna take a sidebar for a second. So the thing with art is it's when you have any piece, right, you're gonna have to have examples of like every element, or not necessarily every element, but every principle of design will be in there no matter what, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that it's like if we take the different types of rhythm, doesn't necessarily mean that you have every single type of rhythm in there. More likely than not, you're gonna be using random rhythm, flowing and progressive the most. You're most likely not going to use much more than that. In a very frequent manner, you might use regular and alternating if like you have it on clothes or if like you're doing something a bit more experimental. More likely than not, though, you're most likely going to have random and flowing and progressive the most. Maybe even rarely random. You might rarely have that one. Flowing and progressive are the two that you're going to have the most likely, right? If you're doing like if you're more of like a character artist or background artist or whatever, something that's more within like the entertainment industry, you're not gonna have to worry a lot about regular alternating, right? But the thing is with um the principles, again, if we think of them in like an English sort of perspective, right, our nouns are our elements, right, and then our principles are the adjectives that we add on to those nouns. It's how we make our the principles are how we make our elements interesting. The gestalt is how we make them make sense. How do we make them make sense? But this is how we make them interesting and how we make them interlock into each other, right? So understanding them is the first key. Learning how to use them is more likely than not you already know. This is just us putting it into context, right? My galaxy brain cannot be contained. My laptop sucks. It's okay. You'll get another one eventually, most likely. But don't worry, it's not the medium that you have that matters. It's how you use it. Okay. So for our last thing, you notice that I've already used up all of my images. That's because the last one we're going to be doing something like very different. I'm going to open up a YouTube window. Progressive rhythm was a tough one to like. I was originally going to like go through a bunch of these and figure out what to do for the modern example, because we always have the modern example. I had to go through a bit of hoops to find something for progressive rhythm because I already had something for each of these. Whoopsie doopsie. I already had something for each of these, and I was like, I need to find something for progressive, and I didn't want to just pull up another thing from, what's it called? From One Punch Man. So would rhythm then play into composition for leading the eye? Absolutely. Rhythm is very, very common for leading lines and perspective and all that. If you think of like, I guess you'd know this one, Oz. If you think of like grids for setting up a scene, like perspective grids for setting up a scene and like storyboarding and whatnot. Those are very, very rhythmy. Those are very, very progressive rhythmy. One Punch. I've used so much One Punch reference, I can't keep using it. So, this came out. When did this video come out? Very, very recently. 13 days ago. 13 days ago. So almost 2 weeks ago this video came out. So this is the back rooms. This is a found footage piece. I'm not going to actually play it all for you. I can't actually play it for you, but I can show you certain sections in it. And the thing with the back rooms, this is liminal space horror. This is one of my favorite types of horror. And what this video does masterfully is it really gets the idea of repeated areas and repeated elements that just it feels too normal, if that makes sense, right? You have a lot of areas that, yes, it is this low quality and is meant to be. You have a lot of areas that progress you further into whatever purgatory he's found himself in, right? Weirdly liminal space. Yeah, this is all very liminal. The backrooms are a very liminal horror genre. And minus the like the obvious, right? If we think of progressive rhythm, minus the obvious, like you see a lot of these, like the square lights up top and the grids, they automatically go to certain places. They get smaller to show perspective. And you see the walls as you get farther back. Some of them get darker as you go farther away from the lights. I'm trying to show you better shots of these hallways. Yeah, right? You have the perspective that goes along. The area itself progresses though, right? Because he eventually has to run away from this monster. Oh, that's a bad frame. There we go. And he progresses into different areas. He progresses into different portions of this place, right? The staircase is another good one for progressive rhythm, right? He gets into different areas and you progress through this weird liminal space area. The style changes, the colors change, it changes the mood, it changes the atmosphere. Yeah, it feels very, very much like an old first person. Yeah, it feels. A lot of people have commented and said that it feels very much like a very first person indie game kind of vibe. I really, really love this video. Right, it progresses. The building begins to feel more clinical, more mechanical as the walls change and the colors change. The light is no longer warm, it's like white and LED and whatever, right? It's really, really cool. But yeah, I recommend watching this entire video. Almost 10 minutes. It's a good time if you really like horror and whatnot. But yeah, the back rooms. It's a good time. It's a good time. Okay. So that's gonna be it for our lesson portion of today. So that was progressive rhythm. I think it feels strange because the rhythm of the walls in the office make it feels like it's leading to something, but it's just nothing. Yes. So the fun thing is that it's progressing you, but at the same time, it's taking you 2 steps back. You have no clue where you're going, and they're like infinite. That's what the back rooms are. It's like repeating monotony. It's a really, really cool concept. I love the back rooms. But yeah, so that's what our rhythm is for today. So we had random rhythm or rhythm and repetition, right? Rhythm goes hand in hand with repetition. They're basically the same thing. But rhythm has a bit more added onto it. So we went over random rhythm, regular rhythm, alternating, flowing, and progressive. And that's our lesson portion. If you've never been to one of these streams before, now the time of the hour has come where I actually get to draw the thing. So this is going to be me figuring out. It's going to be me for a couple minutes figuring out what I actually want to draw once again. Hedge mazes fall under irregular rhythm. Hedge mazes. I would say that they fall more under progressive. I would say they fall more under progressive because they are like it's like a pattern that kind of goes along and leads you places. Oops, this is 46-1. Is this the last of the Corbs? This is the last of the Corbs. I will be drawing more Kirby, like that's just something that like will inevitably happen. But this is the last of the Corbs in terms of our principles of design. Yes, this is the last of the Corbs. Yeah, I realized last time I did one of our principals streams was emphasis, and we had like a thing that was like, which vibe would you like to see me draw? And I totally forgot that it was supposed to be a winter piece, so I didn't get to do the vibe that you wanted me to, which was spooky. So I did the exact same poll, voted again. You guys still want something spooky because apparently we all like watching me draw horror, even though I am not allowed to draw horror all the time. Kirby trapped in the back rooms. What will he do? See, that was kind of my vibe. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, do I draw Kirby in the back rooms, but then I have to worry about all that perspective because then I can work with progressive rhythm. But then I'm also like, I should probably make this one a little bit more obvious in terms of what I'm doing. So I'm like, I might want to do alternating rhythm instead. I could still do something. I could still do something very clinical with Love Kirby. Me too. How are hedge mazes progressive? Because I find that like if we're going with a hedge maze, it like slowly, it's never an exact pattern, right? They kind of. I was rooting for surreal, but spooky gets the same vibe. Yeah, I was rooting for surreal too. Here's the secret, right? With all of the polls, the first one is the one I want to do the most. The last one is the one I want to do the least. That's always the thing. But yeah, so like the thing with hedge mazes is that like they do look pretty similar, but the fact that they lead you places, if you're standing in one, you're seeing it in perspective, and then those like the hedges beside you move around, right? And if we're looking for it from above, like a top-down kind of thing, I'd say it's random rhythm because it isn't an exact pattern. It's more so like it's almost it has a pattern there. You can see that rhythm, but it's so complex that it's not like something that you can put numbers to, basically. Okay, I want to do a long piece like this though. I'm trying to think. The demo section is just setting up perspective grids. You'd think so. I'm trying to think. What exactly am I doing here? What perspective? Because now I'm trying to think of like a background that I want to do. Because we're doing spooky. I'm not necessarily making it scary. I wanna. Sometimes you just kind of gotta start drawing and see what happens. See where it takes you, you know? Whoops. Ugh, there's no color history. Right? Yeah, there's no color history. Put Curb in the back rooms. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like how I would set that up. Kirby in the back rooms. That's so jokes. Now I have an idea. Okay. Okay. Cool. Now we're cooking. Now we've got something. This is how I set up scenes, by the way. If I'm not working in a more advanced program, this is how I do it traditionally. No good perspective grids, no. Cries. This may be a piece that I switch between all 3 of the programs that I work in for. So, we'll see how this goes. Yeah, eerie rather than scary. Yep. Have I watched Encanto? Yes, I have. Great movie. Doing automatic drawing will probably lead you to something spooky. Sometimes. Depending on the mood that I'm in. Reminds me of Bruno Inside the House Walls. Yeah. I'm thinking of like... If you have actually watched that Backrooms video, I'm thinking of like the loading dock area, which was really cool. That was really sick to me. It's kind of what I'm vibing with right now. Probably make these walls flatter though. Yeah, because then if we have it here, like that. There he is. Let's actually make him smaller. Yep. You know what, guys? We're gonna do... I was gonna save this stream for a bit, but I think so. We're gonna do a stream where I work in all 3 of the programs, because I wanted to do some hard perspective today. And that's the beautiful thing about CSP, is that that's how I do my perspective, because if I want to work quickly, I need program help for it. It's like, the thing is that I can work without it. I just... If you want it fast, it's not going to be done like this. Imagine not having perspective rulers. Yeah, exactly. I will use a perspective ruler if I have access to it. Like, that's how I do all of my comic pages. You think I do all of Grayson's backgrounds by hand? Absolutely not. Well, I do, but like I plan them out first. Like, I have a sketch first without a perspective ruler, and then I correct my work with it afterwards. Because I want to have the free-handed look first before I do something too mechanical. Because it loses that freedom if you stick with only the perspective ruler, I find. I want to show how large this place is. Halfway looks at the Junji Ito thing with the holes in the walls. So true. The hole was made for him. Video on how to use perspective rulers. I feel like, didn't Alyssa do one of those? Don't remember. We do have a CSP stream coming up, so we'll be figuring it out together. That's gonna be a whole stream of me just messing around in CSP, by the way. There's gonna be like no lesson, nothing. It's just gonna be me messing around. There's gonna be another stream of me messing around with the animation feature, despite me not being an animator. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. Okay? Okay. Give me a second. Okay. Oh, right. CSP, hello. Clip, please. Oh, good lord. Okay. Clip, please. Don't do this to me. Okay. Stop. 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 Please. I just want to open this file. Okay. CSP shortcuts are my only skill. What are you? What? Excuse me. Sorry. Okay, I don't know what you were, but alright. I don't know what Medibang decided to create. Okay. I'm creating this layer, but I'm going to paint over it. So I'm not going to really 100% use it. Change some of my shortcuts much better. Yeah. I usually prefer to... What shortcut was this one? Yes. I usually prefer to change my shortcuts as well. I don't like keeping them exactly the same. Yeah, so the perspective ruler allows me to just... Oops, that's too small. I don't like... That's one thing I don't really like about CSPs, how they handle their brush sizes. Because y'all gotta... Your lock for the way that it progresses, like this is 0.8. You have to go all the way up here to get to 50. And then it like shoots up like right here. It's super weird. Oh, that's much more eerie. Nice. Okay. Yeah, so what the perspective ruler does is it automatically creates lines in perspective for you if you know where your vanishing point is going to come from, which is like really nice. Next one's going to be from here. It can be a smidge finicky, but like small price to pay. You just kind of got to know what you're doing. Yeah, so what I'm doing right now is mostly just planning out this grid because I'm going to paint over it, so it's not going to be permanent. This is just me cleaning it up so it's not too awful once I get to the finished portion. You just made CSP look like Photoshop. Yeah. Basically, I've put all my stuff around. I've the second I got CSP, I rearranged it so it looks like Photoshop. Basically, I still have to fix all my shortcuts though. Yeah, that feels harsher. Nice, because what that does is it creates that weird bend illusion in the center. That's what I want. Even though that's not really what I'm doing. But it helps. So these are the joys of perspective, by the way, if you've never worked with it. So when you, or this is a perspective grid. What this does is you need to make sure that these lines, these ones that are right here, you have to make sure that they're different lengths, right? You need to make sure that the distance between them gets progressively bigger, like progressively bigger as you go outwards away from the vanishing point. That way, you actually create that space, that sense of space. Hello, Rosie YouTube. Welcome in. Nice. Thank you. I'm doing my best. I'm trying to think of how I'm going to work with this. Okay. I feel like every artist knows a lot more than they think. They just don't know how to explain it. So then, like, once you actually know how to explain what you're talking about, you're like, whoa, I knew this? And you're like, yeah, you did. You already did. It's like, I thought it was common sense. I'm like, nobody. It has a name. Don't worry. You're not dumb. It's just a thing that nobody explained to you. That's my favorite thing about teaching, is getting people to understand what they know, what they already know, and then proving to them that they're always smarter than they think they are. It's like, you know exactly what the principles of design are. Nobody's just ever told you the definition. Okay, sorry if I go kind of quiet. I am focusing a bit. Trying to make this so that I can understand when I transfer over to Photoshop. How can an artist make a space look unsettling when you poke me to a T? Yep. Is that turtle very small or just a long ways away? I'm actually quite tall, I'm just further away than people think. I learned by art by accident, so definitely know things. My explanations are, it looks better. Yeah, basically. I am intuitive, but I don't know the language. Yep. That's how a lot of artists are. And I'm like, you have so much potential. You're amazing. You're perfect. But you just don't know what it's called. That's all. Like, I promise you, it's not your fault. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, sorry. How can an artist make a space look unsettling when trying to go for a liminal space kind of setting? Liminal spaces are controlled by a sense of longing and nostalgia. You need to be able to capture that. If we're going for backrooms kind of unsettling, repeated elements, places that look familiar, like again, nostalgia. If you get that kind of like weird sense of like deja vu, like you've been there before, but you absolutely have not. That's a good one. If we're going for real liminal space, like if we go for like a weird core type deal, you have to go for nostalgia, but the kind of nostalgia that isn't warm and fuzzy. Um, like nostalgia that you'd rather forget. Um, what else? Repeated elements, repeat stuff over and over. A good pattern is always a bit freaky. Isn't it amazing what a few lines can do? It really feels like boxes more than like just a thing, you know? I might put numbers on these too. We'll see how far I get. I could set this all up here, but I'm like, do I want to? Because Photoshop has a better locked eraser. I think that's about as much as I need in terms of perspective, though. So I think I'm fine. Okay. Oh, I have another thing open in Photoshop right now. Shoot, how am I going to do this? You know what? It's fine. Okay. Let's just create the new file. Whatever. Nobody cares. Let's create a new file, and then we'll close the one in CSP, and then we'll... I forgot to close out what I was doing in Photoshop. It's fine. It's just a sketch anyway. And then I can just close them while I work on this. Easy. Okay. It's nothing strange. It's just I don't need to stream what I do in my free time. Okay, we can stream. Because I always just leave Photoshop open anyway. 46-1? Yes? Yes. Okay. Let's close these. Cool. Easy. Free spherical grid for CSP. Yeah, I'm not working with circles though. I honestly just like to draw in the perspective myself. Like the grid is nice, but I find that like if I can just work without a grid and have it lock immediately, it's a lot easier. And a circle grid, I'm assuming you mean like 4-point perspective, right? That one I still I wanna learn that traditionally before I actually use like the what's it called? The shortcuts, because I don't know how to do 4-point perspective very well. So I wanna learn that myself. I want to learn it so I don't have to rely on the shortcuts if I don't have to use them. Or if I don't have access to them, because me, I don't always have access to that kind of thing. So because sometimes I have to teach in other programs that don't have them in there. So I wanna work in I wanna be able to do it and explain it without just like having it done automatically for me. Going back and learning art theory the last few weeks is fun because now I know words. Yes. If anything, I thought it was mostly because I was homeschooled, didn't have middle high school art classes, and art history isn't my friend. Yeah, I've been surrounded by art my entire life, so it's just been like a thing that's been ingrained into me. If you did this in a vector layer, you could auto erase the overlaps easier. Yeah, I could have. That's the end of that sentence. I could have. So be it. Fisheye perspective looks like a nightmare. It looks really fun, and I would love to learn it. When will I sit down to actually attempt it? Who knows? I learned the best not by doing studies, but by actually just doing one really, really large piece involving a technique I've never used before. So, we'll see when my first 4-piece point when my first 4-point piece shows up. Oh, that's a mouthful. Nothing like some repetition and rhythm. So true, Socktennis. Welcome in and welcome back. Haven't seen you in a while. It could be moved to all kinds of perspective. Yeah, I know. I don't like having just the grid there and then having to draw on top of it. I need it. It's got to be something that like the way that CSPs works, where you can like lock it, or like just not there at all, and I can just kind of freehand it. I don't really know why I'm a. Oh no, it's just so that I can fill in the color easier. I'm gonna paint over all of this, so it's like the lines don't matter that much to me, but like it's mostly just me gonna like. I'm just cleaning this up for later. Oh no, I needed that. Oh no, I needed that too. What did I do? It's not exact. You can just select the overlaps with the polygonal lasso and erase that way. I could. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna use lasso. Just just that I don't have to worry as much. I can just like because that gets the job done. Because that's all I really need. Okay. Thank you. You are correct. Because like I just need to be able to paint bucket. That's all I need. Paint bucket without these obstructions. So then I can figure out how my color theory is going to work. Or I can play around with color for a bit. Oh, faster. Thank you. The truth. My joys. It's just like, yeah. Cool. That's how it be. Alright. Oh, forgot. Okay, let's see here now. And then we all get to look at the terrible way that I do my painting. Oops. Oh, did that get unlocked? Oh well. Keep it bluish. Yeah. Then if we have... Oh, let's turn off contiguous. That's not going to be perfect regardless. Okay. That one I need to fix down there. Let's disappear for a few weeks. We're no longer drawing Kirby. Or we're drawing Kirby. I just haven't added him back in yet. Okay. Not too great is great until you forget it exists. Spend a minute trying to remember why all of your curves are becoming lines. Want to do manually for meditation or something? No. The faster I go, the better. But yeah, I mean, yeah. That's not an unfair assessment of me though. You want to do it faster for meditation? That's something I would do. I'm not even gonna deny that. Really doesn't want to lock to that one, huh? That's fine. I'm trying to think. Yeah, because the floor and the walls would be a lighter color because of the lights coming from it. Yeah. Not all of the lines are closed, so I can't paint bucket them all in. And I know there's closed gaps. Excuse me. Okay. See, that's my only, like, thing, is, like... It's like those little details would normally not be an issue if I was working normally, because I would not be, like, trying to work this fast, and I would be like, yeah, I can just kind of, like, take my time with the quote-unquote sketch lines. This time, however, I am trying to be as speedy as I can with something that looks like this. So I did not have the luxury of slowing down with these lines. Cool. Is tolerance not just a worse close gaps? Yeah, but if there is like a pretty big gap, like if there's a gap like this, it does not matter. Yes? No. Yeah, that feels a bit better. Actually, hang on. Let's try something. Let's have some fun. Let's do something weird. Oh, let's not select that one. Let's do this. Oh, other way. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Oh, now because of like how I've drawn it, it does the weird optical illusion thing, and it's like how many gray dots do you see? There's like none there. Kirby's gonna be right here. Just work with a pretty big gap. It's because of like how large this file is. It's a good like 5 pixel gap. I have artist friends telling me I need to learn Photoshop. The more I learn about Photoshop, the more I realize I'm gonna hate it. You either need to my philosophy is you either need to learn Photoshop or CSP, one or the other. Depending on the industry you end up in, though, yes, you will need to learn Photoshop because some like studios will force you to specialize in like something like Photoshop. Okay, what time is it? 5:27. 5:27. Okay, hang on. Okay, this painting section should not take that long though. So there he is. Okay. Cool. Okay. There's so many layers to set up what I have. All right. Now what I'm just doing is I'm adding the texture that I want and just kind of painting this all in. Making this feel less robotic, basically. That's what I'm doing right now. So I know I spent all that time doing the perspective grid, but I wasn't trying to be too exact with it because I'm just gonna get rid of most of it anyway. Because it being a bit too perfect kills the life of a painting, I find. So I like to kind of disregard it a bit. And this gives them nice, more natural edges by comparison. Because when I digitally paint, I like to have the brush strokes visible. I like to have the texture really visible, stuff like that. So I don't always keep in what I was working with initially. It's different if I'm working with more like line heavy stuff. I like to be very, very exact. But like if I'm painting, I like it to be very inexact a lot of the times. It said experiment 629, 626. No, not Lilo and Stitch. Okay, so say it is 629. Or maybe not. Hang on. Very pleased with this Kirby. The amount of perspective you set up in that time is valid. Yeah. Kirby shelf. Hey Noah, welcome in. There's our boy. There he is. Oh my god. She does not like being streamed. Here, I thought we were talking about CSP. Yeah, we were. I was in CSP for a bit. I went to CSP to set up the grid, and then I was in Medibank to do the first sketch. Then I went to CSP to set up the grid, and now we're in Photoshop so I can paint this. Because I have yet to set up my brushes in CSP so I can work and see how it works with other settings. Good thing Kirby can float before he gets pushed off. To be fair, he could probably float down and see what the other rooms are. CSP is an SCP. So true. I need to keep on reading the SCPs. I don't remember which one, because like when I was back in 8th grade, I decided to just sit down and read a bunch of them for school. And that was what I did one of my assignments on, because like we had to do like daily readings. I asked my teacher, I was like, hey, can I just read SCP catalogs? He's like, I don't know what those are, but like if you're reading and it's like it kind of gives you a story, then sure. I was like, sick. So every day I would just read SCP entries. I got up to like almost 200. And PS, did I snap my brush to go over the lines? Kind of. So if you hold shift in Photoshop, you can automatically have your brush snap to the X and Y axis. So it's not like you hold shift and then you get to click somewhere to create a line. You can just create straight lines automatically. That's the thing that I like about... That's one thing that I think Photoshop does pretty good. I have not found a way to do that in CSP, but I am almost certain. Because I'm pretty sure you can hold Alt in CSP and have it like, or Control, one or the other, and you can snap it to those two. But it'll snap to a bunch of different degrees, unless if it works differently compared to like the other programs I've used. Haven't heard much of Rhythm being a principal of art. It'd be cool to see what I learned today. We already went over the lesson portion. Currently, we're doing the demo portion. So I've already done the lesson. We did the lesson in Medibank, so we went over a bunch of different pieces, and we did a bunch of different ones. So we talked about random, regular, alternating, flowing, and progressive rhythms. We get the SCP report. Patreon only. Yeah, unfortunately, if you want my SCP file, you're gonna have to join our Patreon. The Patreon for my SCP report, however, is $100 a month, so you're gonna have to join that way. That's how you get my SCP file. I'll rewatch the stream then, for sure. Right now, I'm just trying to fix this up a bit. One of our examples was the back rooms, so I was like, I want to do something with the back rooms. I was like, let's do a rhythm and repetition illustration with the back rooms. I think that'd be kind of fun. I would have done this so differently if I had more time. The thing with big background pieces is like, unless if I spend a good sufficient amount of time on it, I will be dissatisfied. So maybe at some point I'll redo this piece with more thought. Because knowing me, I would have spent more time on like matte painting the walls and the floors to really look like concrete and whatever. I would have gone out and taken my own photos of like concrete. Matte painted it a bit. That would have been really fun. This piece seems pretty finished to me. It is not finished at all. Can do a lot better with this one. The texture isn't enough, and there isn't enough life to it. There are a lot of things I could do to make this one better, to give it the energy that I want. Alas, though, I have a limited amount of time while I'm here, so I cannot do what I desire. I'd love to attempt something liminal. Do you know what I'd love to attempt? I'd love to attempt it. Oh, you know what? I've already done it before, but I want to try again. I want to do a weird core illustration. Really trying to render out some stuff hyper realistically. The thing with weird core is that it's like there's some hyper realism involved, but a lot of it isn't. So it's like you kind of have that weird blend of the two. I'd love to try that out at some point in the future. You know what else I'd like? I'd like to finally purchase Daniel A. Peacock's brush set. There's a certain brush that he made for CSP for Photoshop and Procreate, I believe, are the only two that he made it for. But if it's a Photoshop brush, then it's also in CSP. But it might not handle the same way. The settings are apparently very complex, so it probably won't handle the best in CSP if it's meant for Photoshop. But if you paint with it, then it makes your images look like a low-res JPEG, and I really want to try that brush out. So like, I gotta buy it soon. $100 kind of steep. Best I can do 50 cents. Sorry, man, I can't unlock that file then. Before the stream ends, can you go ahead and lock the full Discord? I joined, but I'm missing something. You gotta give yourself all the rules. If you read the rules, if you read them, there is literally a thing there that says if you want to unlock parts of the Discord, you have to give yourself roles. The different roles will unlock certain parts of the Discord. A couple of settings that CSP just doesn't read properly from Photoshop brushes, which is always a shame. Yeah, that is one thing. Like, there are a few reasons why Photoshop wins me over compared to CSP. Like, I would have switched to CSP ages ago if I preferred it. But one of them is just like a lot of the settings in Photoshop brushes just cannot be replicated over in CSP. And it's like some of these brushes that I adore just cannot be used in CSP well. Like this one that I'm using right now, the building block brush, this is like my favorite brush ever, and it doesn't translate well over in CSP at all. And some of the settings just don't exist in CSP. So it's like kind of annoying. This building block brush is like my favorite thing ever. Because it's a Kyle brush. It's made specifically for Photoshop, so some of the settings that it has just aren't available. So those Kyle brushes, my god, my favorite things ever. How do I give myself a role? It's the reacts. So if you have like it's a thing. So you know the little images, the little icons, the little emotes that are underneath those messages? You click them, and that's how you do it. There's a couple of settings that CSP just read. I chose professional portfolio in the role select because I definitely won't end up in art school, but I would like money. That one's mostly just like if we have like portfolio nights and whatever. We had portfolio videos recently. Recently as in like December of last year? So like pretty recently. December? November. I think it was like early December. Yeah. So I was already drawing Star Lost fan art by that point. Yeah. So it was early December by that point. And like in there, it's a whole interview with me and Faye. Faye's interviewing me, and she's just talking about like, so you see my face, and it's like my full frontal. It's me for like 40 minutes just talking about art school. So if you're ever wondering what illustration school is like and a bit of game art school, that video's available for you. Me stumbling over my words a lot. I don't have a portfolio yet because my advertising is my arts. I never really need a proper one for comms so far. Valid. Yeah. Especially if you're like in the fan art, certain like fan art circles, real easy to get commissions. You exist in 3D? Isn't it wild? I do have a body. I have like more than my my little avatar. My little gremlin avatar. This is the only thing I don't like about doing more monotonous backgrounds, is like just having to do it over and over. And I'm like, I just want to move on. I just want to move on. Which is why doing liminal spaces like these is something that I don't do often. I patiently wait for when this building becomes canon in the new Kirby game, and then we can see Kirby enter a big building and fight whatever evil has abandoned everybody. In the new one, I'm betting that the new little mouse friend that we have is gonna betray us. They're not gonna stay our friend for long. I have a feeling. I think everybody does. I don't know a single Kirby player who's been like, oh, they're so cute, they're gonna be our friend forever, and we're gonna be so happy all the time, forever. No, that friend is going to hurt us. They're gonna get retribution in a later Kirby game when we can finally play as them. Kind of like Marks. It's like you get to play as Marks and Kirby Star Allies. One little gremlin avatar. Yeah, yeah. That's basically just how I've been drawing myself since like 20. Oh no, if Ray was here, she would know. Like, I want to say like 2015. It's just how I've been drawing myself. It's like, have I properly drawn myself before? Like, yeah, but it's not as fun. I'm just gonna get rid of that. I don't need that. That's fine. Yeah, a lot of this rendering is literally just me, like, getting rid of these black lines, which I guess I could have just done if I just got rid of the line art that was there and just filled it in from before, but like, also, I'm just also making sure that these rectangles aren't too boring. Trying to come up with a little shorthand doodle for myself. Realize I'm 1/3 eyebrows, 1/3 glasses, and 1/3 hair. You can just do like one of those little guy doodles, you know, like the ones that are like, it's a tiny gremlin and like it's just glasses and a mouth. You know the ones. They're very Newgroundsy kind of characters. Yeah, it's so uncomfortable drawing yourself. I used to like really, really hate drawing myself. I feel like I've gotten used to it now. Thank you for the Discord thing. It worked. No worries. Yeah, I used to really hate drawing myself. I think I've gotten used to it by now. But yeah, no, it was something I just never liked doing. Oops. I was on Newgrounds. I do in fact know the ones. Okay, there you go. I was actually never a Newgrounds kid. Like I knew a lot. I learned more about Newgrounds as I got older. But I was never a kid who explored Newgrounds. Because I honestly was not on the internet very much until I turned like 9. Like I was not on the internet like at all. I wasn't really on computers at all. I just lived in my own bubble. The internet was very villainized for me as a kid. So like I was never really on the internet a lot. Was not allowed on there. I was kept very, very far away from the internet. I don't know if I've ever done a self-portrait. It's not a thing I've ever thought to do before. See, I've had to do it for, like, the Meet the Artist. You know that thing where it's like you draw yourself and then, like, the thing you beside it. I've done that, like, once. I should do it again this year. An updated version. Like, maybe I can arrange it better than whatever I did last time. See, like, it feels like this is taking forever, even though, like, not that much time has passed, and I have a pretty good amount of time left to work on this, but, like, as in, like, 13 minutes. Like, 13 minutes is a pretty good amount of time, but, like, it feels like nothing's happened because it's just the same thing over and over. This is why you need to be careful of your repetition, because too much repetition can get really boring, so you have to, like, really add your rhythm in there. The internet too early, it's unfortunate. Valid. I came across Newgrounds 2015, was too young. Spaz Kid, Rice Pirate, Mike, maybe Stamper. Stamper. I don't remember that. 14 to 15 is, that's about normal, I'd say. I'm talking like I knew friends who were on the internet when they were like 8 and they were going over Newgrounds all the time. I had friends back in when I was in 5th grade and they all loved Happy Tree Friends. That was the thing that they always liked to watch. And I was like, I didn't bother watching it because I knew what it was, and I knew that if they liked it, then it was something that I would not be into. Because, you know, me as a kid, I hated horror. I was very, very scared of everything. So, like, I did not want to go anywhere near anything, like, slightly too violent, right? So I stayed very, very far away from that. They were also really into Happy Wheels. Stayed very, very far away from that. Because I was like, it's dumb and you have to be, like, entertained like this. It's like, you have, like, 2 IQ. Because I was one of those kids that was like, I'm smart and I don't have to rely on this to be entertained like you heathens. And then I would go in the corner and just play Pokemon some more. I mean, I'm still kind of this. Listen, I'm not as pretentious, but like I pre-ordered Legends Arceus and I'm just waiting on it. You know, I want those extra outfits, man. I want the pre-order bonuses. Seen Newgrounds stuff since 2003. I was not old enough at that point to have gone on to any kind of computer. I'm sorry. Not conscious enough. Oh, my Meet the Artist was a massive darkness, too many eyes. I love Full Metal Alchemist. Oh, valid. New rounds for me was 2010-ish, so 7. 7 in 2010, huh? Actually, you know what? Yeah, that checks out. 2010, I was about 9, so You know, when I was about 9. What was I really into when I was 9? I really liked Pokemon. I was really into Yoshi's Island. That game I never was able to finish because it was too hard for little me. So now I can't find my cartridge anymore. So part of me just wants to like buy one online, like the old Yoshi's Island DS. Like buy a used one and just like play it and see if I can finish it now. I probably could, but like little 8 to 9-year-old me not able. It was like that was the hardest game ever. Today's a very sleepy stream. Not very talkative today. Sorry, I'm kind of sleepy. A little bit sleepy. Like I'm always sleepy, but I'm more sleepy than normal with this one. I think it's just because like this subject matter is very repetitive. Oh, Phantom Hourglass is your childhood unfinished game. You need to go back and beat it to get some closure. So true. That's another game I never finished. Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks are two that I never finished. I had finished. I'd gotten pretty far in Phantom Hourglass when I was a kid. I went on a vacation to Florida. This is back in not in 2015. I want to say like 2012, 2011ish, 2012 maybe. We had taken a trip down to Florida, and I left my 3DS in a Crocs store, and I wasn't, and I had one of those like funky little gadgets that you could put 3 games in one in. So on me, I had my copy of Phantom Hourglass and Mario Kart 7. And Mario Kart 7, Phantom Hourglass, and the Spirit Tracks. And I had gotten pretty far in Phantom Hourglass. I had unlocked almost everything in Mario Kart, and like I had gotten not too far in Spirit Tracks, but I was starting to get like a hang of the controls. So I was like really devastated. Um, so while we were in Florida, I decided to use the American money that I had because inconsequential in Canada. I decided to use the American money that we got to buy myself a new 3DS. Um, but that wouldn't help too much in terms of games because I got the games again, but my save files were gone, so it wasn't like I could just pick up where I left off. I had to start again. So my I was never able to get back to where I was in Phantom Hourglass. Like that's the short end of the story. Um, I was never able to reach that point again because like the what's it called? The water temple was too tough. So like I couldn't replicate where I had left off at that point. So yeah, I never finished Phantom Hourglass and I never got back to the point that I was at either. I was about halfway through the game if I remember correctly. Okay, I'm actually just gonna like fix this one a bit. Yeah, there's a lot of games from when I was a kid that I kind of want to retry playing again. Canada only accepts Monopoly money. So true. I've never actually played Monopoly. That's a game I've never played. Because I know I've seen my friends and family play Monopoly. I don't wanna reach that level of rage. So I'd rather just watch other people play. Faceless Corb. Faceless Corb. I'm just shading him in. He needs a bit of extra color. He needs a bit under here, actually. Just for the ambient occlusion. Which is something, every time that I bring it up, I say that I've never talked about it on stream before. But I've talked about it a couple times, but I'll talk about it again. Ambient occlusion is the shadows that are caused by proximity of things rather than a light source. So if two things are close together, they're automatically not going to be hit by light, so they're going to cause a shadow. And then a prof told me that this dark shadow between the regular cast shadow and the light source is called your Terminator, or something like that. One game of Monopoly can last days, as I've been told, actually. We have a family friend, and it's one rule. The one rule that we have is, like, you cannot face him in Monopoly because you will lose. Or, like, no, don't, if you're gonna bet him on something, like, don't bet him in the first place. Don't bet things with him on the first place because you will lose. But the other thing is, like, don't bet, if you're gonna bet him, then at the very least, do not play Monopoly because he'll always win. Because he's, like, completely undefeated in Monopoly. So, like, every single time that we'd go on trips or whatever, we'd say to everyone, it's like, whatever you do, do not make bets with Sam. And we'd go, like, and everybody would be like, why? And we're like, because you will lose. Like, there's no other way that it's gonna go. You're gonna lose. Some people take that as a challenge. They're like, yeah, I'll bet him. And then they end up losing. And then it's like, well, we told you. And the bet's always something dumb. I remember one kid, he lost a bet, and the bet was that he had to, like, shave his head or something. And so, of course, he had to shave his head. Or no, not shave, sorry, dye his head. He had to dye his hair. So they got to bleach his hair. That was pretty funny. Shading Kirby's easy. It's the shade of sphere exercise, but in pink. I'd argue that it makes him a little bit more difficult because you have to know the color theory behind shading something pink and fleshy. So you need to worry about your subsurface as well. There he is. Looks pretty good from afar. Definitely not satisfied with these buildings, though. But I will have to live with what I got. What I could do... Oh my goodness. What? Oh, you're not very strong. If the file is this big, huh? I don't want to do this the brute force way. Okay, I might have to. Boo. Alright, fine. I could do this with a layer mask, but it, like, works like 50% of the time, and I don't have the time to fix that right now. So that gives us a sense of depth. Gives us a bit of... Let's do another layer. Whoops. This also increases the depth a little bit. There we go. Gives us a bit of the idea that it's moving past in the distance. Yeah, 6,000 by 3,000. That's why the file is chugging. Yep. Kirby, don't jump. It's okay, Faye. He's not gonna jump. Are you that kid and that's how you ended up with highlights? Kind of, yeah. Wait, what was I talking about? um, subsurface scattering on the core bios. Yeah, this file is huge. It's very very large. I tend to never when I do like really big pieces. I tend to never work smaller than 4K. So like, this is about standard size for me. That's why like it doesn't matter what program I'm in. It's gonna chug a bit. She's gonna get kind of slow on me. All right, though, y'all. I think I'm gonna have to call it quits for this one. Thank y'all so much for joining again. If you don't know too much about the channel here for your first time, we're not just a YouTube channel. We're also an art studio. So if you'd like to check out the classes that we offer, be sure to check them out on our website, wingcanvas.com. So if you'd like to check those out, check us out the classrooms, the classes that we offer. That's where they are. This file that you see in front of you, along with the original lesson, these two will be available as JPEGs on our Discords. If you'd like to join the Discord, be sure to do so. Meet other fellow art nerds, share your art, talk with me, talk with other artists. It's a good time. It's a great time. So come join in. Come say hi. Come meet with us. But this file that you see in front of you, this one, there's a fair amount of layers in this one, so if you'd like to see how my layers operate, you're going to have to join our Patreon. Our Patreon, for as little as $5 per month, you can get access to my working files. $5 gets you one working file per month. A bit more gets you two. And you also get behind the scenes for as little as $2 a month. So if you'd like to, come take a look at what we have to offer, be sure to check those out. What else we got? What's oh yeah, what's happening next week? What's happening next week? Next week is I always have to check. Oh, next week is drawing emotes. We're gonna be picking up more emotes for the Discord. We're gonna be figuring out more emotes to put in the Discord, so we're gonna be working with that. More emotes for the Discord, maybe more stuff for the YouTube channel as well. So if you'd like to watch me just doodle some emotes, come join along. There isn't going to be a lesson. It's going to be one of those really chill ones. I'm going to be working with Photoshop for that one for sure. But yeah, thanks so much for joining, y'all. I'll see y'all next week. Bye bye.